Today, sitting down with Dan Besbris. It's been a little while. He's been busy. I've been busy, but we are back on the show talking about our favourite waiver wire targets. Let's go balls deep.
I'm the type to get shit done. You the type to observe. March Madness on my speakers, but today's November 23rd. Got something loud in the blunt, yeah. I don't say what I want, yeah. Probably somewhere sunny getting tan. Foreign women in the sun, yeah. That's all that I need. That's all that I need. That's all that I need. Got my brothers with me. Got my brothers with me, and my mama's healthy. That's all that I need.
Welcome to the Balls Deep podcast brought to you by Fantasy Basketball International. I am Adam King. Find me on Twitter at AdamKing91. Find us on Twitter at FBI Basketball. We are also, part of the Old Man Squad network. Follow Old Man Squad on YouTube, Twitter, TikTok at Old Man Squad, and on Instagram at Old Man Squad Fantasy. And speaking of old man, my sickness kicking in. Dan Besbris, welcome back to the show.
It's just seeing my face makes you sound like you're an 85-year-old chain smoker. That's the power of the Old Man Squad. What's up, King?
Yes.
Good to be here.
Yes, we were a bit delayed recording this. You had some dog issues, but we got here.
The dog has now defecated 3 times today, and it's only noon here on the Pacific Coast. And then my wife asked me to sit in on a phone call. Everything's fine, but there's just I'm in always something mode again, which I feel like is like once there are children, then there's always something. So I didn't, however, if anybody remembers my last appearance on your show, I had that little subheader under my name that said postpones a lot. And I took it out because I started to feel like it was hitting a little bit too close to home. Hello. Hi, everyone.
Yeah. We didn't. I don't think this is a postponed show. I don't think we ever set a date. I mean, that's a way around not postponing. Is if you never lock something in, there you go. There's a life hack for people.
That's right.
So we did a mailbag show last week, I think, on your show, and then we sort of thought, hey, let's maybe try again. We're not going to lock anything in, but let's try and do a weekly show alternating between my show and your show. And this week we thought we might talk about as the cockatoos go off outside our house.
That's amazing.
Yeah there's thousands of them. They're just everywhere in the mornings here.
They got the big headdress, right? The
big yellow. They're everywhere. There's rosellas and stuff everywhere. It's early morning here is very noisy, full of birds. Galahs as well. So there you go. Aussie bird trivia.
Aussie bird trivia. Yeah, there's just a guy doing their seismic retrofitting on the apartment next door. That's not as fun.
No.
It's just annoying.
No, there's even kangaroos here sometimes just bouncing around the street. So
really?
Yeah. We get up every morning.
Screwing with me, and I would not know because,
no,
here in America, we are taught that in Australia, it's just person, then a roo, then a person. Everywhere you go, there's just kangaroos conducting normal day-to-day business. That's what all the cartoons are. So you could tell me, and I'd be like, that sounds great.
No, it's probably not. There's not that many, but yes, definitely because we live sort of on the edge of the town where we are, so they do come down. And every morning we get up, our lawn and our driveway is covered in kangaroo poo. It's everywhere.
Is it substantial?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. And possum poo, and so we get everything here where we are.
That's
snakes,
delightful.
Sometimes lots of spiders. Yeah, it's what a place to live.
You guys get big spiders in Australia. We don't.
We do.
We don't have the ones that are the size of an arm. We just got the little house spiders. My wife, there was a daddy longlegs that died in our bed yesterday. My family was freaking out, and I just picked it up by a foot and carried it outside.
Yeah,
it's a daddy longlegs, and it was dead. What's wrong with everybody? It wasn't going to do anything. It's not going to come back from the dead and get you. Anyway,
no.
Spiders. Let's talk
spiders everywhere. Happy
Halloween.
So we thought we'd do some waivers, waiver wire pickups, ads, however you want to phrase that. We have not collaborated on our lists, but you have a list big enough that you can just skip over my guys. But I'm going to let you go first.
Oh,
you're the guest.
I am the guest. All right, so let's dodge your guys. And unfortunately, part of this got screwball this morning because apparently he tweaked an ankle that we didn't know about until today. But the first name on my list is Jose Alvarado. And I know that this is not a rest of season thing, but he's only 30% rostered in Yahoo leagues. He's still available in quite a few of them, despite having a couple of good fill-in games for CJ McCollum already. But this is one I like because, and I was debating between him and one other guy, and we'll see if I loop back around to that dude at some point here. But getting steals and assists on the wire is hard enough. It used to be that you could get steals on the wire. They're not as prevalent right now. But that combination is really hard to find, especially from someone who's not going to completely tank you in all percentages and turnovers. And I know that it's a fill-in situation, but there are a lot of guys out for the Pelicans right now. They're down about 5 rotation players. Alvarado's in there getting a dozen, 12, 13 shots a game, and he's a good foul shooter, and he's hitting threes. And the steals, frankly, are good, and they could even be better. So I like what he's doing right now. This is, again, just until McCollum comes back. But it feels like we're looking at least another week on that front, maybe longer. So if we can squeeze 3 to 7 games out of Alvarado, I think in any format, that's a nice amount of games to use a roster move on for head-to-head. And then for Roto, just anybody that's going to give you a nice individual game performance is something that I'm a big fan of looking at. And like, he's one of those players that I can't stand when my team is playing against him, but it's really fun to root for him when he's on your fantasy team. So that's sort of like the double bonus there. What are your thoughts on Jose?
Yeah, I like Jose. He's very streaky offensively. He'll have games where he'll just be the best shooter in the world. He'll get 20 points. Then other games where he'll get sort of 8 points. But as you said, good steals, good assist numbers. They need him out there because their whole starting five is basically injured. I'm just pulling up, where are we? So, yeah, you said he is questionable tonight, as is Jordan Hawkins, as is Zion Williamson, and then they're without Herb Jones, CJ McCollum, Trey Murphy, and DeJounte Murray. So
unbelievable.
Yeah. So, yes, no, I like him as well, and I'll stay in New Orleans then and go to my next guy, who's a little bit deeper and probably a bit more short term, but that's Brandon Boston, who has played at least 30 minutes in the last 2 games. I've liked him for a little while. He hasn't really had an opportunity. He was with the Clippers there. Had a couple of strong games right at the back end of last year. If you can think back to mid-April, he played 3 games in a row where he had double digits. He had multiple steals. He hit multiple threes, good rebounds. So he has flashed this in very small patches, but he's coming off a 20-point game. He had 20 points, 4 assists, 2 steals, a block. Game before that, he had 14 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. So the minutes are trending up purely out of necessity. They just need people on the floor. So this is really he would be better if one of Alvarado or Hawkins doesn't play. But even if they both play, I still think that they're going to use him off the bench. And hopefully he can sort of convince people that he can be a role player. He can be on an NBA roster and in a rotation. So we'll see. This one is very short term and probably in deeper leagues a little bit, but he's available. I mean, I don't have his roster numbers up here at 14%. Advanced ownership 14% and on the way up, but still he's probably available in majority of leagues. I would say.
I'm gonna stay. Should I go to my next one? I kind of like this idea of like bouncing from guy to guy. My next one is actually like, if you can't get your paws on Jose Alvarado, you can always go with Davion Mitchell, who is sort of like my Alvarado light in that. I mean, and maybe this isn't the case, but in my mind, for some reason, I have Emmanuel Quickley coming back before CJ McCollum. I don't know that that's necessarily going to happen, but it feels like it's going to happen because Quickley's been out all for a while and he's been like sitting on doubtful for a few games, and it feels like that upgrade is right around the corner. But at the same time, basically, since the Raptors, like the Pelicans, are down about 4 to 6 rotation players. Wait a minute, I can do this. Scotty Barnes, Emmanuel Quickley, Bruce Brown, Kelly Olynyk, all out for Toronto. Mitchell's played 29 minutes, 35, 28, 31, 37, and 30. And in those games, don't worry about scoring because there is a 0 in among those nights. But the assists are at 8, 6, 11, 5, 7, and 8. He has a 5 steal game mixed in there. He's hit 7 threes, which again, not great, but not the end of the world. So not quite Alvarado level in terms of the expected threes or free throw percent. And honestly, I don't even know if the steals are going to get quite to Alvarado level, but the assists are there. The opportunity is there. And Toronto's playing fast, which is really, really good. That just gets guys involved, even if they're not going to be a sort of a heavy producer on offense. So Davion Mitchell is a guy I think you can use who's only 12% rostered. So, solid 18% less than Alvarado. And just looking, like I have 10 cash Yahoo leagues that are going. Mitchell's available in 6 of them. And the 4 of them that he's not, he's on my team in 3 of those. So, he's a guy I've picked up in a few spots. Again, this is not a rest of season deal because Quickly is going to take that away from him. But it's that same kind of thing. Steals, assists on the wire. It's a really fun combo to be able to pick up from a guy who is going to play 30 minutes because there's just too many damn guys out for the Toronto Raptors. That's player number 2 for me.
Yeah, and I mean, if we think back even last year before when he was with the Kings, he was sort of seen as this defensive point guard. Let's get him out there to shut opposing point guards down. So he's actually getting an opportunity to do that now, and we're seeing, as you said, not scoring. Let's not worry about the scoring numbers, but the defense is there, the assists are there. So no, I like him as well. I'm going to go with. I'm going to go with Toumani Camara just because he's sort of someone I've been talking about for a couple of weeks that I think he should be rostered, and he is the roster ship. It's going up, but it's still not super high. So I think he's worth a look. He's started all season. We thought it might be Scoot Henderson coming into the year, but that was pretty clear that it wasn't going to be Scoot from game 1. So Camara has started all 8 games. The minutes are a little bit up and down, but that is often to do with just the fact that Portland suck. And so when they suck even more, they don't play their starters. But typically he's playing sort of 30 minutes. What's he averaging? Averaging 30.6. So the numbers they're certainly not going to blow you away, but he's averaging 9.8 points. 4.5 rebounds, 2.6 assists, 1.8 steals, and 1.6 threes. So he's sort of giving you a different look every night. Steals are probably the one category that he's like, if you're saying I need steals, let's have a look at Camara. But otherwise, he's just doing a bit of everything. If you're in a roto league or you've just got a balanced head-to-head team, just throw him in. He doesn't really hurt you anywhere. Free throws are pretty rough. He's like 65%, but he doesn't get to the line, so it doesn't really impact your overall weekly score too much. But no, he's scored in double digits in 3 of the last 4. He had a double-digit rebound game, multiple steals in 3 of the last 4. So I like him potentially as these guys we're talking about, like Davion Mitchell and Alvarado and Brandon Boston, are pretty short term if we sort of look at it at the whole season. Camara could be all season or at least for a few months until they do maybe go, we need to start Scoot Henderson now. So, yeah, I like Camara as my next guy.
Yeah, he was on my list as well. I like him, and I love that steals ability as well. And it's one of those things where he might end up just being a really decent filler type guy. That's fine. And we don't know what the Blazers are going to look like if Shaedon Sharpe gets back at some point. But these are things you can worry about down the line. And that's actually what takes me to my next guy, which is another one of the sort of let's worry about it down the line. And that's Julian Champagnie. with Jeremy Sohan ruled out for a month and a half with his busted hand, and we don't know exactly when Devin Vassell is about to resurface, there is a wide open path. And we've seen like 2-ish good games, maybe 2.5, depending on how you want to grade it out. Good games for Champagne so far this year. One was opening night, and the last one was this most recent game, their loss in LA against the Clippers. But the key there, forget that he had 21 points and 5 threes. He played 38 minutes in that game. That's a crazy number, but they don't have much of a choice now because he was already getting in the mid to high 20s with only Vassell out. Now you take Sohan out of the picture as well, and Champagne's going to see 30 minutes. And when guys who can get some steals, some blocks, some threes, some rebounds, and there's sort of this smattering of stuff, that's a guy I want in my lineup when they're playing 30 minutes a ball game because he's just going to find his way into some kind of fantasy stats. No, the field goal percent probably isn't going to be great. He doesn't really take free throws, so I'm not super worried about that, good or bad. But in 9-cat, you get some steals, some blocks, low turnovers, some boards. I'm digging it. And at some point here, like, look, when Vassell resurfaces, you can probably move on because there won't be enough playing time or usage. But for now, and while we don't have a timeline on that, I think Champagne makes sense as a really nice kind of medium-term temporary pickup, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, we're not really sure. With Vassell, sounds like he's close, but it's probably going to be a situation where he's ramped up a little bit as well. So they're not just going to throw him in and play him 35 minutes. So even when Vassell comes back, Champagne could have value for another game or two before. Like it is a common mistake that people do, that if they've got an injury replacement in their lineup, they, as soon as that the player they're replacing is named or they're active, they're playing, they drop the player that they had, and then whoever the player, injured player coming back, they're rested for the next game, or they're only playing 18 minutes or so. It is worth often holding just for a game or two. All right, where will I go next? I'm going to go with. Do we maybe do a pair of Denver players? We'll do Peyton Watson and Julian Strawther, because I had did a show. Was it my live show yesterday? I don't know. Anyway, I've had lots of questions about Peyton Watson and not many about Julian Strawther. So yes, I think Peyton Watson is an ad with Aaron Gordon out, and based on what we saw in that last game, Peyton Watson played 30 minutes, had 16 points, 3 rebounds, 2 steals, 2 blocks. He is someone that we've been intrigued by for a couple of years now, and he just hasn't been able to push from that sort of 18-minute role into that next level, and this is the opportunity for him to do that. So, yes, I think he is definitely worth a look. Julian Strawther was very good during the preseason. And there were even conversations about Christian Braun is going to start, but is Strawther coming for his minutes based on what we saw in the preseason? And Braun has quickly put that to bed by playing very well across the first, however, how many games have they played? 7 games, first 7 games. So he's not coming for Braun's minutes, but we have Gordon out. Jamal Murray is still out with a concussion for at least another game or two. They haven't really put a timeline on it. Strawther has played at least 20 minutes in 3 of the last 5 games. He played 26 minutes in the last game. A little bit different in terms of skill set and what he brings compared to Peyton, but he had 13 points, 3 assists, 2 steals, a block in the last game, and 19 points, 2 steals. He's had multiple threes. So I think if Peyton Watson is gone, he may have been picked up in your league. I think we were talking off air. I went to try and add him yesterday, and he'd been taken in all of my leagues where he was available in some of yours. So check your waivers, see if he's there. But if he's not, I actually added Strawther in a couple of leagues last night just to see what he can do, if he can play 25 minutes tonight. And I also think Russell Westbrook had a good game in the last one. 2 good games in a row from Russell Westbrook, that might be asking too much. So if Westbrook isn't playing well, they may lean into Strowther a little bit more.
Yeah, and I'll even piggyback on the Peyton Watson one, because he was one that's definitely on my list, and I thought, all right, well, we can both talk about this dude. That's fine. I'm excited to find out what he can do, because we've had these very small flashes with Watson when he gets the extra minutes, but they weren't common. He'd have a bunch of games where he'd play 22 minutes or whatever last year, and then every once in a while, I mean, really, once in a blue moon, it was like 30. And we didn't know exactly why. Sometimes there was foul trouble. Sometimes he just got hot. He's not going to have much of a choice but to get in there and play a bunch of minutes. And the shot blocking from the wing position, I think, is probably what I'm most excited about with him. So 100%, I went out, tried to add him everywhere. When the Aaron Gordon news broke, I got him in a bunch of places. I didn't wait in many. He's still available, I think, in like one of those Yahoo leagues that I was referencing earlier. But yeah, I'm very much aboard the Peyton Watson freight train. Shorter term guy, I'll pivot to, because we've got these sort of medium term guys and the shorter term guys. I am lightly intrigued by Benedict Mathurin with Aaron Nesmith out. And I know that Mathurin is more heavily rostered than perhaps he should have been. He's 33% rostered right now. And all he really was doing earlier in the year was scoring, which is fine. That catches everybody's eyes. He only had a 19 and 20-point game to start the year with literally no other fantasy stats.
Yeah.
And then he had some quiet games, because that's what it's like in Indiana. You get Carlisle. If you're not hot, you ain't playing. But with Nesmith out, they've kind of had no choice. He had a hot game mixed in there, so that also helped. But all of a sudden now, 43 minutes, 32 minutes, 2 games in a row, 30 points, 19, 16. The rebounds have been good in these games. He has 10 assists over his last 3 ball games. No defensive stats to speak of, which is why there has to be a lot of scoring and rebounding and some assists and a positive impact free throw number. So it takes a lot to get Mathurin on the 9 category sort of radar because of the limitations of his fantasy game. But with Nesmith out and with Haliburton starting to find his passing stroke again, if you can call it that, I think we're in a nice little, like, maybe 1 to 1.5, 2 week pocket where you could stream Mathurin, just get what you can get, and then move on. And I'm not usually super pro Mathurin, but it does seem like he's playing with a little bit more of a purpose, and it seems like he's fitting with the starting unit better now than he had been in the past. I know they tried it last year a few times and it didn't really work, but these 3 games at least, well, 2.5, it's been better for him. So I think I'm good with a Mathurin short-term stream right now.
Yeah, and Nesmith is out for a while, I think, too. Like you said, this is a couple of weeks. He's in a boot, so we would figure that he is still a while off. I'm going to go even shorter term. I'll do one more guy, and that's friend of the show, Goga Badadze, who himself was injured but came back in their last game. And Wendell Carter Jr. is out with plantar fasciitis, which can be tricky, especially for a big man. We don't know. This could be 2 games. It could be 2 weeks. Really no idea. Badadze came back from a foot issue. I think it was a foot injury that cost him 4 games, and moved straight into the starting lineup. And we saw this last year from the Magic. So they're not afraid to play with that starting center role depending on who they're up against. So it could be Badadze, it could be Mo Wagner. I doubt it's Jonathan Isaac. I just don't think they have any confidence in his body at all. So I think it's one of Badadze or Mo Wagner. So, I mean, you could throw both names here into this discussion as potential short-term streamers. But Badadze, we saw last year, he can get blocks. He's a good rebounder. Doesn't really hurt you in terms of percentages. He had 11 and 9 with a steal and a block and 4 assists in that last game in 26 minutes. So I just think if you're looking for a center for however long, insert number here, it could be 2, could be 4 games. I like Badadze. I added him in 2 leagues, I think, and I added Mo Wagner in 1, well, maybe 2. I think I might have actually added both of them in 1 league. So we'll see how that goes.
Nice Wagner hedge there with the Mo.
Yeah, just in case. So yeah, I like Goga for a little maybe 1 or 2 week spurt here.
Yeah, I mean he sort of hovered around that 100 range when Wendell Carter Jr. was out last year. I would love it if he could kind of grab that starting job and really get more than 24 minutes. A couple of names to consider that are more heavily rostered, since I know we're getting kind of towards the end of the program. Bub Carrington, he's looked good. I know you and I talked about him beforehand, but you know, the funny thing is in Yahoo, he's listed as only 20% rostered, but he's 90% rostered in my 10 cash Yahoo leagues. Obviously someone like a Christian Brown, who's been great since the start of the year. Bilal Koulibaly, who's been very good since the start of the year, outside of a little bit of a dud against the Warriors, but he played almost 40 minutes in that game. So still reasons I think to like him. Trying to think of who else was probably a pickup before. Bobby Portis, certainly with Giannis out, is someone that should probably be looked at. Grady Dick, with all of the Raptors out, is another one. Those are guys I think that are maybe a little bit more heavily rostered, but I figured throw their names in there because you never know. Check your wire. You might be in that one league where they're still floating around, and those guys are probably... Most of the names I just said, not all of them have slightly longer shelf lives than the guys we were talking about. So figured it couldn't hurt to toss them out there, right?
No, and there are a few of those guys, and it really is about just checking your waivers. Peyton Pritchard, according to Yahoo, is only rostered in 40% of leagues, and that's stupid based on what we've seen. So yeah, never hurts. Don't just assume that someone is rostered. Go and check just in case. And yes, that'll do. That was just thought we'd fire out a quick waiver wire show there. What's going on, Old Man Squad? I know there's lots of content because I'm retweeting your shows every day, and there's always multiple links for Old Man Squad. So what's on the agenda?
Yeah, just like the settling into the routine of the season. You know how it is at this point. Instead of churning out preseason content, so there are parts of this that are, and one of my earbuds just fell out. I really need to get not cheap knockoff ones that aren't tumbling out of my ear mid-sentence. I thought that it would be a little bit easier once the season started. And in some ways it is, because the content is all just right out there in front of us. But I'm also learning that like the timing of shows matters a lot more right now than during the preseason, where preseason, if I could find a half an hour at like 4 p.m. to actually finally sit down and record a thing, you got to knock these things out immediately right now. And that is not easy, as we talked about, because I'm an always something person in my life these days. But as far as Old Man Squad goes, I'm adding things to my free jumbo size Google sheet that now has the streaming calendar for the entire year. I've added the burger board, my injury replacement list that has a tab now. I'll be tracking player movement in ranks throughout the season. All of this stuff is free in the Google sheet. And the Discord, which now I think has like 1,700 people in it pretty quickly. I'm doing some storms in there if folks want to get questions answered. Our good buddy Eric Ong is often floating around in there answering questions. And you can meet the other hosts on the Old Man Squad. So check those out. I've got links. I think maybe my pinned tweet is probably the easiest way to find it. So yeah, I see all y'all over on social media because I never leave this place. That's problematic.
And I think you're up. Did I see that you're up to 5,000 YouTube subscribers?
Yes, I can't believe it. That happened so fast. Thank you, everybody, for subscribing to Old Man Squad, because you're gonna get some shows actually that Adam you'll be hosting. They'll be available there when baseball comes floating around. You'll get Joe Orico's baseball stuff, and we're just gonna sort of keep adding to the YouTube feed. But that was fast. That happened quickly. I'm pretty excited about that.
Yeah, no, it has been. I'm not surprised, to be honest. I'm wondering. So this is not related to. Well, it sort of is fantasy related. The draft board behind your head that's there. I'm just reading it and looking at some of the names. Because when was this draft?
2020.
Can't remember. 2020. So 4 years ago.
COVID. It was the weird December season start after the bubble championship.
Okay.
And there are some, I mean, look at some of these names behind me.
I know. It's we've got LaMarcus Aldridge in there.
There's LaMelo in the 6th round.
Yep.
James
Wiseman,
Wiseman,
way too high.
in the 7th. This is a good one.
TJ Warren above him.
Yep. TJ.
Yep. Yeah. Wow.
Not up here.
Things change so quickly. It's just funny to look back and.
Christian Wood, third
Who's
round.
The Wood? Yeah, Christian Wood. Is that when he was Detroit? Christian Wood.
Well, let me see. What is the team name on that? Houston. That was the Rock.
Houston Christian Wood. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
They also gave me, not that anybody cares, but I have a bag, and I've had it for 4 years now, sitting on the ground just to the left of my desk that has all the other player stickies that they didn't use, like the rest of the league. And I have half a board that's totally blank behind that I never filled in because we only did 10 rounds on the mock draft. And I kind of feel like I should just create the rest of the mock draft with weird names from 2020. I don't know what I'm going to find. What treasures await me in this bag?
Yeah.
Someday.
Wow.
Maybe I'll put one on every episode. I'll put on a new name behind me and people can watch me fill out the board.
That would be interesting. I mean, you do so many shows, it would fill up quite quickly.
I can find it.
Anyway, of course you have so much free time. So
yeah. Well, here's the bag, just in case anybody thinks oh God, it's dusty. Let's just do it. I know you got to go, but let's do one little game here. I'm going to reach into the bag and I'm going to pull out one player.
All right.
And let's see who it's going to be. Oh, it's a whole sheet. My bad. There's like 6 or 7 names.
Oh, okay. So they're not. Yeah, they need to be prepped. Oh wow, Dwayne Dedman. Wow, they're all
Gorgie Jang.
Names there.
I think I got a centers sheet here.
Yep.
Gorgie Jang, Drew Eubanks, Derek Favors. This is when he was still sleeping in a nice soft mattress, and Cristiano Felicio, who
Chicago legend. Yeah.
Chicago legend, also known as the worst ranked advanced metric player in the entire NBA.
Now, Derek Favors, he was an interesting one, wasn't he? Always so a lot of potential, but injured. Always had bad knees. Did he actually retire, or did he just go away?
Vanished. Poof.
Yeah, because he wasn't that old. I remember we thought he felt like he was 33, but he was only 26.
Yeah,
and then he just vanished.
Member of the old man squad.
Yeah.
What do we got here?
Anyway, there you go.
Here's another fun one.
Oh, Bobby Portis.
Yeah.
Oh,
teammates.
Starridge.
No. Teammates.
Yep.
Portis and Taurean Prince. Now, Portis was already in Milwaukee here. I didn't even realize that. Jakar Sampson. Admiral Schofield down at the bottom.
Yeah.
The Admiral. I'm going to have
he was last with Orlando, maybe. I'm not sure if he was. Anyway.
I know. This is great.
There you go. Yeah, you could throw them up on the board and people would be squinting at the screen.
Yeah,
who's that guy?
Who drafted Cristiano Felicio in the 11th round?
Oh, yeah. And if you can, because you can see my name top left.
There we go.
Yeah.
There's Kingy
but
over
you can't really see anyone else's name. So you'd need to adjust it so you can actually see.
Pull it down or
and
back.
then you could say, well, this person drafted Cristiano Felicio.
I'd have to move. I have to tip the camera, but then you're going to see the bedroom beyond. And see, now you can.
Oh, yeah, there we go. We can just see. Yeah, okay.
And you got.
Oh, yeah, Eric Ong, Josh Lloyd.
Yeah, McCune, Boggs, Jovan. I forgot that Jovan was in this.
Oh, yeah,
draft.
Jovan. Yep.
Katrin, Bartolotta, Stock.
Yeah.
The end of it there.
You go. A lot of good names on there.
Yeah. This is. Well, I mean, look, what were we doing in 2020?
Not much. Not much at all.
Shout out FJ Fantasy for providing the board. We'll give them a little plug on the show.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to let you go. I'm sure you've probably got a show to record or something.
I do. And lunchtime.
Oh, yeah, it is lunchtime. I'm going to have some breakfast. We'll try and bang out a mailbag show next week, potentially. I don't know. We'll talk anyway. We'll figure something out.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, that'll do. Lots of waiver guys there for you to consider. Thank you, everyone, for listening. That will do for today's show. I'm Adam King. He is Dan Besbris. This has been the Balls Deep podcast. Until next time, catch up.
You just listened to another episode from the Fantasy Basketball International Podcast Network. Thanks for joining us. And for more information about joining our community, please check out our website at fbibasketball.com.